Welcome to the upstreamlife.com, and I'm your host, Vishal Krishna. This podcast celebrates business transformation in India and the world over. Today, I have a very special show. I'm going to be talking about the life of nano entrepreneurs and why they need support. Some of us call them owners of Kirana stores because I've been writing about retail for about 10 years now, and there are about 12 million such stores in the country. But nano entrepreneurs are a whole different story. It can be pushcart sellers, small vendors, and much more. Talking about the subject, I have Geeta Goel, the managing director of the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. A little bit about Geeta. Geeta manages the foundation's operations in India to transform the lives of urban low-income communities through improved education, livelihoods, and financial inclusion. Pardon me. In her role, Geeta manages the strategy and implementation of the founder's work in India in two key areas: education, family economic stability. Leveraging a suite of funding tools, grants, contracts, and program related investments, which includes debt, equity, and guarantees, the foundation is committed over 250 million in India and has over 70 active projects, all anchored around the core theses of impact, scale, and sustainability. Talking about nano entrepreneurs, we also have a finance firm called Arthan Finance, and it's interesting to talk to its founder, Pravash Dash, MD and CEO, who's joining us on the show and program. Arthan Finance offers growth capital to self-employed micro and small enterprises in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, centers of India rather, let's say smaller towns. It has provided loans to about 16,000 borrowers till date and have 5,000 active customers. I've got the introduction out of the way. How are you, Geeta? How are you, Pravash?
Very good, Vishal, and it's good to be talking to you and to Pravash together on the same screen.
This is interesting for me because after covering retail for 20 years, I know a thing or two of how these people struggle, how these micro entrepreneurs or nano entrepreneurs in this case. Let's first get to do this. Let's talk about MSDF's mission in India, and then let's jump into the partnership with Arthan. Go on, Geeta.
Okay, so 2 minutes on this. My MSDF is actually Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. It's Michael Dell's family foundation, which was set up way back in '99. In India, we've had our operations since 2006. And if you ask me, like the core principle of the foundation, it's accelerating human opportunity. So it's about equity in opportunity, how each, especially a child and a youth, has the power to reshape society if we give them access to the right set of opportunities. The mission of the foundation is improving lives of children living in urban poverty, children and youth. In the context of India, we work in 3 areas: education, livelihoods, financial inclusion. And each of them, the foundation's work is anchored around impact, measurable impact, scale, and sustainability. Because again, the context of India landscape is so huge that anything that we do should, in order to have impact and move the needle, it should actually, reach into a scale which gets into tens of millions. So yes, the foundation's been in India since 2006. We've invested about $250 million already in the country across these 3 areas. You mentioned it. We work across not-for-profits through our grants. We work with for-profit social enterprises through equity investments and even debt and guarantees. And in fact, Arthan is one of our equity investments, so we'll talk more about it. And we also work very actively with state governments on improving either education or livelihood outcomes. Today, I would say that we impact over 30 million children and families across India. And the one thing that we are fairly dogmatic about is impact measurement and making sure that every dollar spent actually, has a good return in terms of the impact delivered. Because we are fairly conscious that we are a small foundation, and therefore, in order to move the needle, we have to be very, very focused on delivering impact. Now, you must be wondering why Nano Entrepreneurs fits here and why we invested in Arthan. So just a little bit on that, because I spoke about education, livelihoods. I think those are terms that are easy to understand. Financial inclusion is really about financial services for the underserved or for typically low income or excluded segments. Why these are important? I think these are the engine of livelihoods unless you offer a business some access to debt or security, their own growth challenges will, affect them very soon. So similar to the way large corporates borrow from banks, nano entrepreneurs or micro entrepreneurs also have a need for working capital, for growth capital, but they typically find it difficult to borrow. And I'll come into like what are nano entrepreneurs. So clearly they are more than the Kirana stores that you talked about. There is a big bucket out there, which we feel that it's an addressable credit segment, but there are challenges in the way credit is offered that this segment gets excluded and therefore is unable to, improve livelihoods, improve their incomes. And the role we've played, and I'll talk about it again, has been more of catalytic, unopening some markets, creating some market shifts. I'll come back to all of this, but yeah, we should also maybe talk a little bit about Arthan and then.
Absolutely. I like it. You already answered the nature of the partnership with Arthan, right? It is to unlock this value of impact to these nano entrepreneurs. And obviously, you've invested in Arthan, and Arthan comes in with this deep-rooted knowledge of these micro or nano entrepreneurs. Let me say, well, how many? 5,000 active borrowers or customers, or 16,000 borrowers, correct? And 5,000 active customers, right, Pravash? Talk
So
about Arthan a little bit and
yeah,
a little bit about the partnership. That will set the context for everybody and what the nano entrepreneur thing really means.
sure. So till date we have disbursed 16,000 plus loans, and we have 5,000 plus active customers. But coming back, what Arthan is, it's a fintech, and primarily founded to service the most underprivileged or underserved vulnerable segment of the society. Those are MSMEs or the nano entrepreneurs. But if you look, they uh, actually contribute significantly to the economy of India. And the mission of the organization is to be the preferred financial partner for these small businesses wherever we are present, whether it is physically or through digitally. And the aim is to help them to increase their financial as well as social well-being and create larger impact through job creations and the larger impacting the larger economies. So
Okay.
that is what it's broadly, Arthan Finance does. Yeah.
Okay. I want to know about the challenges because let's get into the sociology of these nano entrepreneurs. There are lots of challenges. One is obviously for them to get a daily income or timely income. Secondly, they have to educate kids. They all have children. There are many challenges. What are some of the challenges that these people face? And Geeta, you should also contribute here because you understand the ecosystem now of impact. And what were some of the challenges that these entrepreneurs faced during COVID-19?
Actually, maybe before Pravash begins, should I just do like
Yeah, you should.
what
You
is
should.
nano entrepreneur for
Yeah,
us?
please, you should,
Uh,
Geeta.
so yes, there are 63 million MSMEs in India, micro, small, and medium enterprises. We bucket them into one large category of MSMEs. 63 million is a very large number, as you know. I was actually thinking it's all our 6 metros combined together has that population. And we don't create significant distinction or different buckets within this. We've picked up a bucket which comes under the micro enterprise, which is MSME, and which are enterprises with a turnover of below 5 crores. Even within this, the nano entrepreneur is a segment which is an annual turnover of 10 lakh to 1 crore. So they are a sub-segment of the micro enterprise, which, so we feel this is a segment that is credit addressable because, they have some size and scale and they have some digital footprint. In fact, as per a survey, 50% of these nano entrepreneurs already had a smartphone. More than 25% would have done some digital transaction, but less than 10% of their transactions were digital. So they're neither too small nor too invisible, and yet, they're not large enough. And when schemes get opened up for MSMEs or credit gets unlocked for MSMEs, typically it gets stacked at the top of it, at the small and medium enterprises, and little flows through for the nano entrepreneurs. Nano entrepreneurs are about 10 million in terms of the size. And, a lot of them would have bank accounts. And just to give you an instance at the bottom end of a nano entrepreneur is somebody who has a top line of 10 lakhs a month, which is less than a lakh, 10 lakhs a year, less than a lakh a month, which literally, and I was just thinking, even your local chola bhatura wala, who's selling 50 plates at 60 rupees, is that micro. So, sometimes 10 lakhs seems like, oh, these people have, enough steady income. But I do want to say that at the lower end, these will be maybe very informal, small enterprises you see on the streets. At the higher end, they may be, masons, carpenters who employ a few people. But I just wanted to set that context of in this big
it's
pool
true.
of MSME who is a nano entrepreneur. Pravash can talk a little bit about the challenges of that.
No, I'm glad you told me about it, because most of them, there is no report on these chola bhature walas or these mason type of entrepreneurs. There is no data, right? And you are absolutely right. They may be more, 60 million. You said there may be 10 million, right? At this point of time, 10 million.
10 million
Yeah,
in
that's
the
a
hand.
big number. And a lot of people don't understand the economic impact of these people. So
Exactly.
yeah, so that's why I think, Pravash, it's a good segue to talk about the challenges they face, and how did you help them, and how did you support them also?
Yeah, so as Geeta said, that this particular segment is really huge, and there are very less number of players who are in the market because of so many other things. There is supply side issues, there are demand side issues, and there are some regulatory or overall structural issues are there. In terms of, if you look at the supply side issues, the traditional lending process doesn't work, or one shoes doesn't fit all type of assessment what traditional lenders used to do. That doesn't work for this particular categories, because it is a small and the cash flows are uncertain. So people do not take larger, they do not have larger risk appetite, so they do not lend to this segment. Higher cost of reaching out to the customers, because these are spread across all over, and you don't find any specific segment at a particular locations where you can actually give them the loans. So reaching out them is expensive, higher cost of operations. All those things are actually creating a bottleneck to fund them. Similarly, on the demand side also, there are low financial literacy. The technology adoption is very less. They do not have documented proof of income basis which you can actually take a call. The most of the business are cash and carry, although as Geeta said, they have started doing digital transactions, but those are very, very limited these days. They do not have bankable collaterals. So lot of things are actually squeezing them so much that they are not getting any financial support from the formal lender. But actually they it's not like they do not get lending, so they go to the money lender, local money lender, and get the money whatever they want. But for that they have to pay the price. But if you see the current situation, that has changed drastically after Geo has come in and created a larger digital ecosystem or data-driven ecosystem. The lending technology has also improved. You will find lot many stable APIs who can give you a lot of microservices attached to your system, and a lot of information flow into a system to take those calls. So looking at those, at Arthan, we focus on transaction-based lending or purpose-based underwriting through our AI and ML-based scoring system, rather than the older document-based or the cash flow-based long tenor loan underwriting. So we actually give very short tenor, small amount loans, and which is appropriate for that particular customer. Giving an example, let's say Kirana store where the turnover is around 2 lakhs rupees, and he requires and his average cycle is 15 days, right? So he doesn't require a loan for 6 months or 12 months type of that usually people give him to. What he requires is he requires that 15,000 rupees to purchase few boxes of biscuits immediately, which he has to pay to his suppliers. Nobody is able to give those type of products to this segment and these customers today. So at Arthan, we actually help such transactions and empower these small businesses to get what exactly they want and when they want it. So we are enabling all those through technologies, whether it is
Okay, why choose this segment, Pravash? You could have chosen a segment that can give you money back, give you your money back, or why build a platform focused on nano entrepreneurs? Because it must be very difficult. The banks don't do it because the cost of retail lending is very high. They don't want to send feet on street. Recovery is a problem, but it's not. But the intent to pay back is there with everybody. I'll tell you, in India, I think they want to pay back. It's not as if it's not as if people think that you lend to these people and they'll run away. The fact that there is no proper financial platform reaching them is an opportunity, right? So why choose this? Why choose nanos first? And what geographies did you focus on?
Yeah, so why we chose this particular segment, because I worked in segment for last 15, 17 years. Understand this segment in and out. I have started. I mean, there are many small finance bank or NBFCs who took the first loan from us when I was in my previous avatars, and I have seen them growing. From crore rupees to thousands of crores, and helping these organizations and this customer segment. You find, and when you see so many organizations, you actually know what exactly they are, the challenges are, both from the organization's point of view and also from the customer's point of view, right? As you rightly said, these customers are credit deprived, but it's not like they do not pay well. So if you look at the small ticket loans what we give, there the repayment rate is much higher than the larger ticket what we give, right? And also that is seen in the microfinance loans. So always it is more than 95% or 99%, right? Whereas other lending like retail lending and all, you will invariably see 1.5 to 2% delinquency is there. So this customer segment is good. Only thing is how to reach those customer segment and make all these products available in a simplistic manner. So that is where we thought technology can play a
Yes,
great role,
absolutely.
and to make those working capital or growth capital made available to these guys. And that's the reason we started Arthan
Okay.
with a specific focus on the nano customers or micro
Okay.
customers.
Tell me about their COVID experience. I specifically want to cover that probably a minute or so for you. If you could tell me how were they hurt? Were they really hurt? I mean, I know that's a segment that nobody wants to talk about. While everyone else had, groceries were allowed. What about these kind of entrepreneurs? Did they get permissions to operate? I mean, were there a lot of struggles?
Yeah, lockdown actually severely impacted their cash flows. Savings got exhausted, resulting in the defaults and their loans. Whatever the working capital they used to have, they use for their own consumptions. And overall, their bureau scores also got impacted because of the defaults, and nobody gave them the fresh loans, right? So when unlocking happened, then they started grappling with, taking new loans to restart their business. Many of these big NBFCs or banks, they shut their shop or they started consolidating their locations, and they were not providing any new loans. So then we as a organization, we look at ourselves as an financial ecosystem partner for this segment. And when you look at them as a partner, then probably you are at the right place and you understand their requirements like no other, right? So we thought this is the opportune time to help these guys
Yeah.
to restart their business. And
So did people collaborate with you? Did fintechs come to you? Because you're bringing data of a customer set that people have never gone after. So
right.
how did these partnerships work with, whether AUM partnerships with banks, whether fintechs coming in? How did that happen?
Yeah, so Vishal, before going to that particular segment, I'll just touch upon the business model.
Please.
We have three channels. One is the smart branches, which is spread across Orissa, Maharashtra, and AP. And primarily, we wanted to be a eastern and central focused NBFCs where you see the credit to GDP ratio is very high. The gap is really high. And a handful number of NBFCs or banks are operating in those areas, and that's the reason you will not see a larger competitions, and also the people are not getting enough loans. So that's the reason why we focused on this belt physically. And while we say that this is a branch-led model, but the entire sourcing, underwriting, assessment, disbursement, everything happens digitally. We are a cashless and paperless organizations from the day one. That helped us, onboarding customers very smoothly. And also during COVID time, we got a larger collection efficiency than any other competitors in the market because of our digital collections from the day one we put in place. The second channel, what we do is the partnerships. Under these partnerships, we tie up with the local MFIs and upscale their, group loan customers to individual customers, where we give the entire tech stack, product stack, the mobile applications, the collections infrastructure, everything to the partners, so that they will also become a tech savvy organizations and help us acquiring all those data points what we really need. The other type of partnership what we do is through the fintechs, where we get a lot of data, and basis those data we have these algos in place, and we give the customers short term, very short term and short tenor loans, small amount loans.
Okay, can you mention some of those partners just so that I round it off, those partners where people can access Arthan Finance?
Yeah, so we are doing it through different partners like Finbox,
Yeah,
like supply chain platforms like Credex. So these are the partners whom we tie up with
very
and
nice.
give these loans. The next leg, what I was talking about, is the supply chain finance. If you look at the supply chain finance contour, primarily it was given by the banks and restricted to the larger companies, AAA rated large companies. So we pull it down to the segment where we are actually operating. So we make the small SMEs having 10 crores to 100 crores as our anchors, and their dealer and distributors get the invoices discounted, whether it
Very
is a
nice.
500 rupees, 2000 rupees, or 10,000 rupees. They got discounted, and it is done on a real time basis. So within 2 hours, the vendor gets the payment. I mean, the anchors get the payment. So these are the three distinct channels of operations what we are having. And as you said, a lot of partnerships we have developed over a period of time in the last 6 to 12
Okay.
months time, who are helping us gathering those data and creating the rule engine more robust and
Hmm.
more appropriate.
I want to bring Geeta back. Geeta, he talks about such a beautiful ecosystem where there is a systemic change happening, right? For any cohort to thrive or any ecosystem to thrive, timely payments is one of them. Using data efficiently to get somebody's life going is so important. And I'm so happy Pravash is doing that. But what are these systemic changes that you've noticed in your career? What needs to change? I know Arthan is trying, Arthan Finance is trying. What are some of the systemic changes that we need to focus on in our country to get this like become a movement? That is what I want to bring out from this question, Geeta, for you.
So, and if I can just take a step back, and you asked Pravash why nano entrepreneurs, I must say it's a very large opportunity, Vishal. So if you are able to untap it in a way that your risks are mitigated, on a risk return matrix, you may actually be better off. But the question is, how do you mitigate your risks? Because the perceived risk of this segment is high. And I think Pravash, through his partnerships and digital data is trying to do that. So if you're confident that you know how to control risks, it's a large enough and a lucrative enough opportunity to go after it. And that's where, we see the role of catalytic impact capital, because, many other investors may not want to take those risks today, but given that we are trying to unlock the segment, we have a better understanding of the risk. We're saying, let's catalyze it. They show proof of concept, and then other investors would also come into this. And, we've used the model in our urban microfinance, in the micro mortgages space, of saying, let's catalyze the early starters or the pioneers, and the markets do get unlocked. In terms of the systemic shifts, given it's a large market, what is not what are the roadblocks for the market to get unlocked, right? We talked about the small ticket size and why that's not lucrative for a large bank or an NBFC or any large player, and because it adds to the cost of servicing on a much smaller denominator. So I think digital and technology play a very important role there. And today, as more and more nano entrepreneurs and customers get on smartphones, even accessing them, disbursing loans to them, doing, recoveries or collections through UPI, etc., is much simpler. Because in the past, you would have to send somebody to collect the cash and reminders, notifications can happen. So I think digital and technology is definitely one enabler, which is unlocking this market. What we are doing in that journey, I would say, is again, we've seed funded a few early stage funds, which are trying to ensure that more and more solutions based on India stack actually reach the bottom of the pyramid. So we are an investor in Bharat Inclusive Technology Seed Fund, which is out of Ahmedabad, which is trying to work with some similar companies, but maybe even at an ecosystem level, with the objective of driving more digital solutions at the low income segment. So that's one on the digital. The other risk or the other constraint for this segment is that we do not have data, or and therefore cannot do cash flow assessment. We do not even have collateral. So how do you assess risk? How do you create a credit history of this customer who's not on any credit bureau? And there I would say 2-3 things. We invest in companies like Arthan, like Kinara, which create their own credit assessment methodologies, which are based on phygital models. So some data from alternative sources, some physical verifications done by their field staff. In addition, last year we invested in a company called KaleidoFin, which is developing credit scoring models that can be sold as a service for this customer segment. And their alternate data includes, electricity bill payments, mobile payments, how frequently do you change your mobile numbers? All of these actually feed into a credit score, which can then give you a much better predictor of how, the probability of default on a loan. So I think that's one thing, that all institutions don't need to develop such complex models, right? There's somebody who can do it at an ecosystem level, and if they sell it as a service and also provide some underwriting, that helps on the risk assessment or credit assessment of this segment. The third piece I would say is, even after the credit assessment, there is still a risk in this segment, right? These are just scores. I mean, the customer doesn't have a credit history. Is there a way that we can transfer the risk? So that there, I think, guarantees play a very important role. Underwritten securitization of assets play a very important role, because you actually are able to pool different types of MSME loans or nano enterprise loans. And then, through the diversification of your pool, you're able to take on a guarantee. So for instance, if, and we did a few guarantees even during COVID. We did it with Caspian and with Northern Arc, where we said, there's a 10%, 15% guarantee protection. And it just enables then the enterprise to be a little more relaxed, I would say, with its credit norms in a stress situation that we had over COVID. So I would say, if you ask me, the 3 things, one is the whole digitization and making the cost of accessing this customer less. Digitization also helps us to customize the product for the customer, because again, to Arthan's point, you don't need a one size fits all. Somebody needs a 15-day loan, somebody needs a 2-day loan, somebody needs a 2-year loan, and through feet on street, you cannot have such diversity. Through digital means, you can customize the product. The second is better risk assessment and ecosystem risk assessment of credit scoring solutions is something that we've supported. And the third is risk transfers or guarantee, partial guarantee solutions, which enable more, it increases the risk-taking appetite of the NBFCs that led to it. So I would say those are the 3 areas that we've been focusing on. That said, we And all this has come because of our experience with direct partners like Arthan, like Kinara. So we have most of our partners, I would say today, are digital because that's what this customer segment needs. We don't have pure digital partners because we also work with Arthan Finance that actually has a very strongly built out data system and a tech platform there. But again, on the field, they work with partners. So they could
Got
actually
it.
be working with an Arthan because the last mile is still not fully digitized. So they would, work with different partners like the Seva, Samita, etc. Uh, so yes, some direct interventions on digital models, digital support, risk assessment and risk scoring, and guarantees, I would say, are the three things that we think.
So your partners have brought about real change in the court over the last 2 years. The experience, you're almost talking about MSDF like a platform now. Many partners, a lot of data, and are we talking about a stack kind of an approach here? What impact have you been? What impact have your partners made, pardon,
Yeah,
now
no, in
with
fact, is
this
actually
platform
the
approach?
partners. They are the ones on the front lines for sure. So in the last 2 years, I would say our own focus on nano entrepreneurs has actually increased a lot post-COVID. In 2019, it wasn't as significant, but I think post-COVID, we diverted a lot of our funding to this segment, just realizing the challenges. So I would say we've committed about $30 million just in the last 2 years to this segment. It's unlocked something like $150 million for our partners through guarantees, through equity, etc. And in return, they have actually been able to service more than 150,000 clients. Now, again, in the broad scheme of things, these numbers are small, but for each nano entrepreneur, and these are not 5,000, 10,000 rupee loans, these are a lakh, 2 lakh, going up to 5 lakh. And for each nano entrepreneur, I think the credit line has just meant a different impact. Somebody has grown their business. In fact, I was just reading a case story from Arthan, Pravash. I don't know whether you know, but about how a health worker wanted to buy some emergency equipment like a mini operational bed and was not getting a loan, but then through Arthan got a loan and has now been able to set up that unit, providing health in her community, which is a great story. So somebody started a new business like her. Somebody's expanded a business. We heard case stories of saying people have actually grown their revenues 10x because of a loan, because they could buy a refrigerator in which, food would not get spoiled, or many, many things like that. Some have used it just as a working capital line. And clearly in COVID, I think these lines of credit were the source of life for a lot of the nano entrepreneurs. I think many doors got shut, businesses got shut. The ability to bounce back, the ability to not spoil your credit score, because at the end of the day, these customers, to your point, they are credit worthy. And just because of one shock, you don't want their credit score spoiled, because what some of these interventions are doing, Vishal, they're also creating a footprint and a credit score for these customers. Today, some of these NBFCs lend to this customer segment at 20%, 24% interest rate.
Yeah.
Our aspiration is that if you get a loan at 12%, this customer should also be able to go to the bank and get a loan.
Closer to that much, yes.
So once we are able to, get their credit scores up, show their repayments, hopefully cost of lending will also come down to this segment. But yeah, there's a long way to go for that.
No, it's a valid point. I really want to ask you, now that we've obviously had Pravash telling, us everything that they've done, what is your viewpoint? How much, you said 10 million. You think how much, when I do this interview, I look at how long will it take to get to these 10 million people, right? Look at it, right? How will we do it? That's what I'm passionate about. How do we get there even? And how do you see them becoming impactful as time goes by? I see them being impactful, but how do we get there? I look at, I get business statements and business plans all the time showing me that people can get to 500,000, 1 million in the B2C space, right? This is B2B2C kind of a thing. It's a harder space to be in. Where do you see impact, Geeta? And Pravash, I'd let you add also because it's your business. But Geeta, your thoughts on where can they make impact? And Pravash, I want you to talk about the impact you can make.
Yeah, I actually think if we take care of some of these risks, the market will start expanding. So, will we reach to, these 10 million? I'm fairly confident in 5 years, we will at least give these 10 million an option to credit. Everybody doesn't need to take credit. Many people are credit averse, and that's fine. That's your own choice. And we've been through this journey, Vishal, with say our microfinance portfolio, where we invested in Ujjivan when it was one branch, less than 1,000 customers. In 10 years, it was, it had a portfolio of over 10,000 crores. So yes, it takes time, and those 2 or 3 years look like you need a lot of patience. But when things turn, once the market starts seeing that there's money to be made here, or the government allows some buffers to this segment through credit guarantees, through some interest subvention, I think once you hit those big pools of capital, either the government or the market, it will unlock itself. So I am fairly confident that giving them the option to credit is something that's doable. 10 years ago, we did not have so many Jan-Dhan accounts or savings accounts also. So, right, I mean, the leaps that India has made in the financial inclusion journey it's just way over many other developed countries.
And so everyone is smartphone savvy, like you said. And I'm thinking that, what we did in 10 years now can be squeezed down to perhaps 3 to 5 years. And I'm sure we'll reach a lot of people, no, Geeta?
I'm optimistic of a 5-year window.
I'm hoping that at least of these 10 million and they have access to mobiles, I hope at least 10% of the universe gets to understand that they can take formal credit now instead of going for hand loans, which can be dangerous, at any given point of time.
Yeah, I feel fairly comfortable. I think today also 10% of this segment does access credit because, this segment also includes some entrepreneurs who are part of a formal supply chain, so somebody else gives a guarantee on their behalf, etc. So I think we don't have proper estimates, but I would say that we are already at 10%. So, can we get to the other 90? I think with things like UPI, smartphones, yes, data, and there's nothing stopping it. I think the account aggregators that have come in, yeah, which actually unlock again a lot of data sets.
Yeah. We're talking about the logistics stack, the health stack coming by. So that'll be amazing. Yeah.
Right. And then you have players like Khata Book, Pagar Book, many well-funded startups starting to say, let's understand this segment better. Let's get this data set out. So I am very, very bullish that in 5 years we should get there. I would love to hear.
Let's let the businessman tell us. Pravash, yes. I want you to tell me 2-3 things. We've already, very super impressed with the impact, right?
Yeah. So the way I look at this particular segment is, like we started microfinance nearly 10-15 years back, and it flourished over a period of time once the things are settled and stabilized, and you got a structure to it. And I see that is happening for this nano segment. The group loan customers are now migrating to the individuals, and a lot of data points are being built. As Geeta said, a lot of footprints are being made, whether it is a digital payment or for that matter, any small transactions they are doing. So you are creating that ecosystem, and once that ecosystem is created, everybody will start looking this particular segment as a very lucrative segment. And also it will evolve by a period of time. And once we, as I said, the lot of things or lot of neo banks or fintechs like Arthan, what we're doing is, putting those tech stacks in place, which actually enabling the first time somebody taking a loan with a smaller amount and all, and then there is a repetitive loan disbursement, or he will come for the second time, third time, and also. So those are the things which will be built over a period of time. And I'm also super bullish that we will capture a lot of this in over next 5 to 6 years time. And a lot of government initiatives have also started. Government is also pushing this particular segment to be funded hugely. So I mean, whether you do it or not, uh, obviously the entire segment will come to the mainstream.
Okay, now I want to talk about this, right? We talked impact and make the scalability for you. Uh, like I said, 10% of the addressable universe today is using it. Where will you be? I mean, by the way, people listening to this, don't hold them to it. These are all business plans that they make. But what would you want to get to, Pravash? And I want to know the long-term vision for you.
Yeah, so in 4 to 5 years, we wanted to be looked at a financial ecosystem partner for this segment, right? So offering multiple products, whether it is a loan, whether it is a savings, whether it is an investment, insurance, everything put together on our platform. So anything this particular segment wants, probably they will come to Arthan and ask for it. Either we will provide from our side, or we will help them getting it through some of our partners. So that is the long term, thought how Arthan will be looked at. In terms of just to put few numbers, in 5 years time we are looking at disbursing nearly 2 million loans, and 2000 crore AUM. Probably will disburse much more than that, because all those will be small ticket and small tenor loans, but targeting around 2000 crore AUM in the next 5 years time.
Okay, very well done, very well done, and I wish you all the best. I'm going to be tracking your career. We're going to do more of this. Geeta, I want you to tell me MSDF plan for this cohort. What are you going to do for this cohort going forward? And obviously, guys, I'm going to give you a conclusion where you are going to love it. So, Geeta, we're going to go with your thoughts on what is your vision for this cohort. Then I'm going to make the conclusion, which I'm sure the audience would love, because they'll have to come back and listen again.
Yes. So I would say, as I said, if all the 10 million have an option to credit, I would say directly through the MSDF platform of investments, we are able to at least, in 5 years, impact 15% of this. I just heard Pravash take up 2 million of the 10. So that is good to hear. But I also know the journey will not be as fast. So we are saying if we can even unlock directly 15% of this 10 million, that would be great. But as an ecosystem, can we give the option of credit? Can we make it, a loan on demand? You click here, the aggregator opens up a lot of information, you get a credit score, you get an instant loan. I think that's where we would like to be. Let me just pause there.
Okay, great. Pravash, what's your email ID? Because we are all living in the world of API economies. And for those of you who want to make impact and want to access APIs of Arthan, then I think, Pravash, you could give your email, right? They can write to you.
Yeah. So it's Pravash, Pravash at Arthan.finance. My first
there
name.
You go, guys.
At Arthan.finance.
I'm going to put it in the description as well, now that you shared it. By the way, we will continue to talk about these nano entrepreneurs in the next 2 episodes. And we will talk about examples where NBFC is trying to directly serve the segment using phygital modes and data analytics. Okay. We will also hear about some ecosystem solutions on credit assessment and credit scoring for this segment. And then we'll also check out the role of intermediary platforms that can be large aggregators of credit powered by proprietary data systems and credit evaluation processes. Okay, keep a note. I'm going to tell you next time when I'm going to do these type of episodes, because they're all about impact. I'm going to put in Pravash's email in the description. Go write to him. If you have a technology company that wants to make impact in these nano entrepreneur segment, to go for it. Geeta, you've been wonderful. Thank you for bringing Pravash onto this podcast segment. I'll have you back again. Pravash, thank you so much for doing this with theupstreamlife.com. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Vishal. Thanks, Geeta.
And that's a take. Thank you so much.
Thank you.